Imagine a continent sinking beneath the waves, towers of crystal shattered, temples crumbling into the sea, a golden civilization swallowed by silence. This is the legend of Atlantis, but it's not alone. In ancient Hindu texts, they whispered of Lemuria. The Egyptians spoke of Zep-Tepi, a forgotten age. The Greeks told stories passed down from the temples of Isis, the Vedas, the Kabbalah, the Aboriginal Dreamtime. All hint at the same truth, a world that came before time. What if these weren't myths, but memories? What if Atlantis and Lemuria were not fantasies, but advanced civilizations that mastered something modern science still cannot touch? Not machines, not metal, but frequency, vibration, consciousness. According to esoteric traditions, these lost worlds didn't build with bricks. They tuned matter. They moved stone with sound. They stored energy in crystals. They healed the body with resonance. And they powered entire cities without wires, without fuel, through the Earth's natural field. But something went wrong. Something was lost, and the knowledge was buried under ocean, under time, under fear. In this video, we'll uncover the forgotten technology of Atlantis and Lemuria. Not just how it worked, but why it disappeared. Because maybe their downfall wasn't the end of the story. Maybe it was a warning humanity buried because it hit too close to the truth. Maybe the real danger is that we're repeating the same pattern, not just forgetting Atlantis, but becoming it again. Part 1. Atlantis and Lemuria, Civilizations Before Time. Long before the pyramids rose, before temples were carved into stone, there were stories. Stories of civilizations so advanced, so spiritually evolved, that they seemed to exist not just in the past, but in another dimension of time itself. Two names echo across the world's most ancient myths: Atlantis and Lemuria. Plato wrote of Atlantis as a powerful island empire beyond the Pillars of Hercules, where wisdom, architecture, and science reached unimaginable heights. Until, in a single day and night of catastrophe, it sank into the sea. Half a world away, Lemuria appears in the ancient records of India, the oral traditions of Polynesia, and the spiritual teachings of Hawaii. It was said to be a land of harmony and deep intuition. A civilization connected not by conquest, but by vibrational unity with the earth. In esoteric circles, Atlantis and Lemuria were not rivals, but complements. Atlantis, the masculine, solar principle of logic, technology, and structure. Lemuria, the feminine lunar force of emotion, intuition, and resonance. One mastered the external world, the other, the inner. For centuries, mainstream historians called them fantasy, but then the Earth began to reveal its secrets. In Yonaguni, Japan, an underwater staircase of impossible scale. In the Bimini Road, giant megalithic blocks arranged with uncanny precision. In the Indian Ocean, sunken columns, too ancient to belong to any known civilization. And across the globe, more whispers rise. Temples aligned with star systems, megaliths that defy gravity, oral histories passed through thousands of years. All pointing to something humanity has chosen to forget. More than 200 cultures record tales of a great flood. In Mesopotamia, it was the Epic of Gilgamesh. In the Bible, Noah's Ark. In Mesoamerica, the destruction of the previous sun. Not metaphor, but memory. Many spiritual traditions speak of these memories as resonant imprints. Traces left in the soul, or even in the genetic field, that reawaken when the world is ready to remember. You may feel it too. A strange nostalgia, An intuitive sense that we came from something greater, that what we call progress may actually be a recovery, a slow return to what was once known. Because Atlantis and Lemuria were not defined by stone and steel. They were shaped by their relationship to energy. How they lived in sync with the earth, the stars, and the invisible fields that modern science still struggles to name. And that's where our journey turns. In the next part, we won't just ask what these civilizations were. We'll ask how they worked, how they powered cities, healed the body, and altered matter, not through machines, but through vibration, intention, and consciousness itself. Because what they left behind may not be ruins, it may be a blueprint. Part 2. Vibrational technology, energy without machines. When we think of technology, we think of wires, engines, and machines. But the ancients may have worked with something far more subtle and far more powerful, vibrational technology, a form of science that didn't require metal or electricity, but relied on sound, frequency, light, and resonance to shape matter, alter consciousness, and access energy from the earth itself. What if the pyramids weren't tombs, but frequency machines? Structures like the Great Pyramid of Giza are aligned with stunning astronomical precision. To true north, to star systems, to lunar and solar cycles. But beyond alignment, their internal chambers resonate with specific frequencies, chambers carved from granite that responds to vibration, air shafts positioned like tuning forks, the layout itself, a blueprint of resonance. Some researchers now suggest the pyramids acted as energy amplifiers, drawing subtle Earth frequencies upward, concentrating, harmonizing, and possibly distributing them. Elsewhere, across the Andes, we find Pumapunku and Sacsayhuaman, stone complexes where blocks weighing hundreds of tons were cut, moved, and fitted with laser-like precision, without mortar, without tool marks. Modern engineers admit, recreating this with today's tech would be nearly impossible. To modern engineers, these structures are impossible. But what if we're asking the wrong question? What if they weren't cut, but softened? Not through force, but through vibration. Imagine stone melting like wax under sound, lifted by resonance, not crushed by tools, not broken, but persuaded. Sound waves can levitate objects. Frequencies can dissolve matter. We know this now in labs. But what if they knew it thousands of years ago and used it to build, and it didn't stop with structures? In esoteric texts and oral traditions, there are tales of crystals used to store information, tools that channeled subtle energies for healing, and even devices that responded to thought. Atlantean lore speaks of fire crystals, or tuaoi stones, powerful vibrational cores that connected people, nature, and energy in a single field. These weren't tools for domination. They were extensions of consciousness, healing chambers that used harmonics to restore cellular balance, rings of stone that acted as portals, glyphs and symbols that were more than art. They were codes designed to interact with reality. Because in this paradigm, the human being wasn't separate from the machine. You were the conductor, the tuner, the key. This is the essence of vibrational technology. It doesn't replace nature, it works with it. It doesn't override energy, it amplifies your connection to it. And here's the deeper truth. The greatest source of power in these civilizations was not the devices they built, but the state of consciousness they held while using them. In the next part, we'll explore that very key. How consciousness itself was the core operating system behind ancient technology. Because without elevated awareness, Even the most advanced tools are nothing but stone. Part 3. Consciousness as the core operating system. In our world today, consciousness is still treated as a mystery, an effect of the brain, a byproduct of biology. But in the world of Atlantis and Lemuria, consciousness was not a side effect. It was the source code. To them, the mind was not just an observer of reality. It was a co-creator, a tuning fork, a transmitter. And technology was not built to replace human potential, but to amplify it. Their tools didn't respond to buttons, wires, or keyboards. They responded to frequency, to focus, to the energetic signature of the person using them. A skilled initiate in Atlantis could enter a chamber, close their eyes, and through meditation alone, activate a vibrational process that could heal the body, align the energy field, or access information stored in crystalline memory banks. There were no control panels. The mind was the panel. This is what modern mystics mean when they speak of the pineal gland as a cosmic antenna. When it is activated, it allows the human to receive and transmit information across dimensions. It acts as a bridge between personal awareness and the larger consciousness field. This is also where the concept of the Merkaba comes in. A multi-dimensional energy field around the body shaped like intersecting tetrahedrons that activates when thought, heart, and breath are in perfect harmony. Through it, ancient beings could shift perception, location, even reality itself. In this worldview, the human being was the interface. The machine was secondary, an amplifier of what the soul already knew how to do. Crystals were not ornaments, they were living storage devices, like energetic flash drives. They could store memory, intention, healing frequencies, and even sacred geometry codes. Programmed not through coding languages, but through voice, breath, and consciousness itself. Temples were designed as resonant chambers, where sound, architecture, and energy fields converged, to create altered states of awareness. Healing occurred not by cutting into the body, but by restoring harmony between the body and the cosmic rhythm. This was not superstition, it was a sophisticated science of the soul. But here's the most profound part. Their technology could not be abused, because it only responded to consciousness in a coherent, heart-centered and sacred state. If the mind was fragmented, the device would simply not respond. In that sense, consciousness was both power source and protector. So the question must be asked, if this knowledge was so advanced, why did it vanish? Why did humanity fall from a state where we could move energy with intention to a world where we burn fuel to create light? What happened to our minds? In the next part, we'll dive into the Great Fall, the moment when this consciousness-based technology was lost, misused, or deliberately buried. Because the collapse of Atlantis and Lemuria wasn't just a natural disaster, it was a spiritual rupture, and the consequences still echo through time. Part 4. The Fall. Why their knowledge was buried. For a time, Atlantis and Lemuria thrived. Their people lived in harmony with the earth, channeled energy through thought, and aligned their hearts with the pulse of the universe. Technology amplified consciousness, not replaced it, and for a while, balance was maintained. But even the most enlightened civilizations are not immune to shadow. As time passed, a fracture began to grow, especially in Atlantis. Some began to use vibrational tools, not for healing, but for control. They discovered how to influence minds, manipulate emotional fields, and bend the will of others through frequency. Technology, once sacred, became a weapon. The harmony between heart and mind was broken. Plato, in his dialogues Timaeus and Critias, warned of this exact corruption. He spoke of Atlantis falling into moral decay, where power became more important than wisdom. And when technology outpaces spiritual maturity, collapse is inevitable. In esoteric traditions, this fall wasn't just physical, it was energetic. A massive disruption in the planetary field. Some say it was a misuse of crystalline energy. Others speak of a war between Atlantis and Lemuria, two forces no longer in balance. Either way, the Earth responded. Floods, earthquakes, a magnetic reset. And just like that, a golden age ended. Crystalline towers shattered in silence. The hum of harmony became a scream of chaos. Vibrational grids collapsed, minds fractured. The Earth, once a conductor, became a shield. And in one final pulse, the signal went dark. But not everything was lost. Before the fall, the wisdom keepers, priests, mystics, and guardians of sacred knowledge saw what was coming. They encrypted their teachings. They hid records in temples beneath the sand. They carried codes in oral chants, in myth, in symbol, and they fled to Egypt, to the Himalayas, to South America. There they laid the seeds for new civilizations. The blueprint of Atlantis would echo in the mystery schools of Egypt, the Vedas of India, and the Hermetic texts that would survive underground for millennia. It is said that the Great Pyramid of Giza was not built after Atlantis, but by its survivors. A vibrational structure designed to hold frequency, record memory, and preserve alignment with the stars. These teachings were passed down in silence, hidden in symbols, geometry, and initiation. Only those deemed ready could access them, because the knowledge itself was neutral. But in the wrong hands, it could destroy again. So it was buried. Not just in stone, but buried in the subconscious, waiting for those who still remember the frequency. Which raises a profound question: can we still access it? In the next part, we'll explore how this ancient technology is beginning to reawaken. Not in machines, but in people. In healers, dreamers, scientists, and seekers who are remembering that the greatest energy field isn't buried in the earth, it's waiting in the human soul. Part 5. Reawakening Ancient Tech in Modern Times. The fall of Atlantis and Lemuria may have erased the structures, but not the memory. Because memory, when encoded in vibration, cannot be destroyed. It can only be forgotten. And now it's being remembered. Across the world, a quiet awakening is taking place. Scientists are exploring the links between consciousness and energy fields. Healers are using sound frequencies, binaural beats, and light therapy to restore balance. Crystal researchers are mapping how different stones hold intention, amplify thought, and affect human emotion. Inventors are building devices that tap into the atmospheric electric field. Technology that echoes what Tesla once dreamed, and Atlantis once used. These are not coincidences. They are fragments reassembling. Because the next evolution of technology isn't about creating new machines. It's about reconnecting to the oldest one, the human energy field. The ancients knew this. They trained not the hand, but the mind. Not the intellect, but the heart. Today, we are rediscovering that the body emits electromagnetic fields. From the brain, yes, but even more powerfully, from the heart. And when brain waves, heart rhythms, and intention align, the human becomes a resonant instrument, capable of affecting the environment, tuning the body, and receiving higher information. This is the real secret. The devices of ancient civilizations weren't powered by wires. They were powered by presence. Technology was not something separate from the soul. It was an extension of it, a mirror of coherence between self and cosmos. And that's the threshold we now face. As the veils thin and old paradigms collapse, those with ancient memory in their DNA are beginning to activate. They feel drawn to sound, to sacred geometry, to vibration. Not because it's trendy, but because it's familiar. Atlantis and Lemuria aren't just chapters in our past. They are codes for our future, waiting to be unlocked through inner resonance. The temples may be gone, but the blueprint lives in your nervous system. The keys are in your breath. The frequency is you. And in the next video, we go deeper. Because ancient technology wasn't made of steel. It was built from symbols, from spirals and eyes to stars and sacred names. The symbols left behind are more than decoration. They are activation codes, maps of the soul, tools for transformation. We'll decode the spiritual technology of sacred symbols and reveal how they guide the awakening of the inner world you've always carried. Because you are not just remembering the past, you are resonating with the future that was always encoded within you. Final CTA. If this knowledge stirred something ancient inside you, a memory you can't explain but deeply feel, share this video. Atlantis may have sunk beneath the waves. Lemuria may have vanished into myth, but their frequencies are still vibrating within you. Because this isn't just about lost technology. It's about remembering who you were before the forgetting, before the fall, before history rewrote your truth. In the next video, we'll explore the sacred symbols left behind by ancient civilizations. Symbols that aren't just decoration, but activation codes for the soul. Spirals, eyes, stars, and sacred geometry. Each one a doorway to the deeper layers of your own being. The secret codes of ancient symbols. Because the truth was never lost. It was just written in a language only the awakened can read.